I got scolded by one of my clients for not doing a video in like 3 weeks. And I honestly didn't think anybody was going to care. And by the way, I just ran in from doing something else. I was thirsty. I went for it. I bought one. I don't know if you can read it. It's probably backwards. But this puppy crap from Costco. No, it's horrible. I thought it would replace Monster. I love the ultra sugar-free Monsters. And I bought this instead, and it's garbage. But yeah, let me take a drink. I'm thirsty. Get to watch me drink. How exciting. Todd, this video better be awesome. I don't know. You might want to tune out now. I'm not paying you to watch this, so you can tune out anytime. But anyway, yeah, I was scolded. Todd, I get a lot out of your videos. Of course, that made me feel great. But you haven't done one in a while. Of course, I tried to explain. I got a billion things going on, and I honestly thought that it wasn't that big a deal, but they kind of felt I needed it, and I didn't hear it once. I heard it like 3 times. Hey, Todd, I love your videos. Probably most surprising to me, most of my clients watch these things. And they're like, hey, that's what sold us on it, Todd. You might want to do more. So here I am. I'm doing more. And I'm going to use one of my latest experiences, like I have in the past in other videos, to kind of pass it along to you. Something to think about. You can completely ignore me, like even if you had me out to your house, we could go through our deal and you can go, that's not the way I would do it. Hey, that's your right. But I'm going to kind of give you, based off my experience, how I actually would deal with something. I was at a client's house. It seems like, I would say probably 20% of my clients are either former military or former law enforcement. In this case, he was former law enforcement and fun guy, really fun guy, but he was really good. It hadn't been that long since he had been out. He was in some special units within the police department. So, he was pretty trained and he had a really good understanding. I don't know if it was my videos. He had a very keen understanding of what I was going to do while I bumped my mic. What I was going to do while I was there, which is awesome. No problem with that. He's thinking ahead. He's kind of came up with a game plan, and he did really well in scenario number 2 or scenario number 1. So for scenario number 2, I thought, gosh, Todd, I'm getting really challenged here. What are you going to do? I mean, this guy's paying good money for you to be out here, and you just can't not offer anything. It's a big pressure for me. I want my clients to know, hey, I wouldn't have thought of that, or I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have, planned it that way. I got to offer something. That's a huge pressure, and I want to make sure, and I've been pretty good so far. So I asked a few questions I wouldn't normally ask. The first one was, hey, when you're at home and you're binging Netflix with your wife, and again, there were no kids in the house. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. But there was just him and his wife. He was retired. His kids were all grown. They did have grandkids that came over to the house on occasion. So do we. But most of the time, it's just him and his wife. They like to come home from whatever they're doing. They love to sit down on the couch together, and they love to binge whatever they're binging. So that's their normal evening. And so I asked, okay, is your rear door typically locked or open during the evening hours? And he's like, well, immediately, most of my clients, when I ask this question, and I have asked it a couple of times before, oh, well, we lock it. Because, that's kind of the instinct, right? Oh, I don't want to be the guy that leaves my rear door unlocked. And so he's like, yeah, it's locked. And so I kind of excused myself. Hey, can you hang on a second? Walked over to the rear door. It was unlocked. He's like, oh, well, you got me. So then I asked, where do you stage your weapon while you're at home? And he's like, kind of thought about it. And he's like, well, I keep it where I normally keep it, in the bedroom, in my little biometric safe, which I had seen earlier from the scenario that we had ran out of there. So I'm like, okay, well, let's run a scenario outside of the home. I don't know, this is going to be something that where I'm going to be coming in from the outside and you're not going to be in the bedroom like we were before. And he says, now I can see the wheels turning. He's like, oh crap, what's this guy? Where's Todd going on this? Because I just want you sitting on the couch like you would normally do on a normal evening, and I'm going to create some type of issue, and you're going to have to solve the problem. And then I took the training handgun, because we were using a handgun, because that's what he was using. Shame on him, and he now is a convert. Always have a home defense rifle, preferably an AR platform. Yes, that evil rifle, AR platform, home defense rifle. Don't have one, get one, but he had a handgun. I took the handgun up that he had used on the scenario number 1, and I went, I'm just going to go ahead and put this back in your bedroom while we run this scenario. And then he was really like, oh, I see where he's going with this. so yeah, he reluctantly, him and his wife reluctantly, and his wife didn't kind of catch on at first. And she could tell he was like, he had this like, oh shit, we're screwed kind of look on his face. And, she kind of picked up on that. So that was kind of funny. And she asked him at one point, what's going on? What do you got the look on your face for? And he's like, we're screwed. So I went and put the weapon back in the bedroom, and I came out and I told him, okay, I'm going to go outside and you guys are going to hang out here, watch TV, and, react to whatever happens. And of course, I even cut him some slack. I went up to the rear door and I did one of these numbers, like I was looking inside so that he could see me and then react to that. And so he had a little bit of time instead of me just opening the door and walking straight in. And I think he was kind of just thinking he was going to just sit there and just give up immediately and just go, let's move on. But he actually, I guess he must have got a plan in his head really quick, and he kind of tried to implement it and didn't really work. And his wife was doing one thing, he was doing another, and it didn't work out really well. But it was an awesome training lesson. Perfect. And how else would you get that unless honestly, you had somebody out there coming up with it and implementing it in front of you and forcing you to think about stuff like that. So we ended the scenario. He knew kind of where I was going with it, which is always have a weapon staged near you, within arm's reach, if possible. And it's always possible. I follow that golden rule here religiously in my home. We do go in and out of our back door all the time. Even though I lecture my wife, lock it when you come in, you get distracted, you get crap in your hands or whatever. We tend to animals on our property, so sometimes she's got her hands full and she's just trying to get through the door without letting all the air conditioning out. And she'll shut it sometimes and she'll just forget, or she'll think, well, I'll put this stuff down, I'll go back and lock it. It doesn't happen. So there are times when our rear door is unlocked, and a lot of times I'll walk by and just flip the lever, or she comes in and I see that she got distracted and I'll get up and go flip the lever. But it's super important because that lock is going to slow the bad guy down a little bit. But you can't slow the bad guy down enough to be able to spring up off that, because you're going to be startled, spring up off that couch and then get a handgun if it's in someplace other than right there. Someplace in your house. It's just not enough time. Now, there are a couple of different things that you can do. And I'm just going to use this as an example, just a husband and wife, no kids. And I'm going to flip to, let me get this thing to work, if I can remember how to get this thing to work. Oh, look at that. Back to the virtual house. Love it. So here's the couch, right? You're kind of sitting right here. And maybe your honey bunny is sitting over here, and you're watching the TV up on the wall up here. It might be the new Apple series, Presumed Innocent. We just finished that. It's awesome if you haven't seen it. Ending, but anyway, I won't ruin it for you. And then you have, in this particular house, and this house was set up differently, but you have a screen or a sliding glass door right here, and then down, kind of concealed in this case, but right there you can kind of see it. I don't know if you can see it. You can see my cursor to the Left of my cursor, that's where the front door is, right there. So, what are your options if it's just you and your wife in this case? Let's say you don't have a weapon stage. Shame on you. You don't have a weapon stage. Say you don't have a holstered handgun stuffed in the cushion, as an example. So, what do? Well, if the door is unlocked and they storm in, the Venezuelan gang storms in, you're kind of screwed. Now, you don't necessarily have to have a weapon right there in order to defend yourself. It just kind of depends on the route. In this particular house, the bedroom is behind the TV set. So if you can imagine, there's somebody coming in over here again to the left of my cursor, coming in here. You and your wife could get up and just sprint like crazy people into the bedroom. Get into your predetermined safe corner, safe spot, and just Alamo it there. That's your Alamo. Weapons there now with you. You can just yell and scream that the cops are on the way, that you have a weapon. They're better off just getting the hell out of your house. Just get out. And so they're rummaging around out here, and they're like, crap, there's some crazy people, and they made it to the bedroom, and he says he's armed. He probably is, because that's where people keep their guns. Maybe we should just go out the way we came in and just get the hell out of here and find a little bit easier victim. But let's say, like happens, your wife isn't sitting on the couch with you over here. Let's say she's over here in the kitchen. She's in the kitchen, grabbing you a snack when they come storming in. And now she's over here and you're sitting on the couch. You could probably make it to the bedroom. What are the odds she can? And if she can't make it to the bedroom, where's she going? If she comes across, if she runs across here and tries to, they could meet her halfway. That would be a bad thing. If she retreats back this way and kind of goes back into this part of the house, that's feasible. Are there weapons staged back there? If they come around and they go in the opposite direction of you and they start looking for her, and well, she's probably on the other side of the house. You going to sit in your bedroom and hope that she's okay while you sit in the bedroom and do nothing? Probably not. So it's a really bad, messy situation if the two of you just aren't sitting on the couch. Now, let's say, you can see this house here has a very large rear window. And it's tough to put blinds on this stuff. I don't know if you have a house like that, but it's just, we did at one point, and it's like, how do you put a blind on this thing? And you can see they have curtains there, but they're fake. The rod doesn't even go all the way across. Which is common. I mean, there's lots of different blind options, but a lot of times we leave them open, or I know we do a lot of times. We'll leave our blinds open or cracked. Let's say they know what they're going to do, and they're going to come through that rear sliding glass door, and they're waiting for you guys to separate. They know at some point somebody's going to have to take a pee, or go in and grab a snack, or maybe go not interested in the movie and go sit someplace else in the house. They're waiting for you to separate because they know that when you're separate, that you're more vulnerable. It's possible. So you have to be thinking about these things constantly. The only true solution, even if you're childless at home and it's just you and your wife, is to have a weapon staged near you. That way you can give your wife or give your husband instructions. Go to the back of the house, and you have an option. You're going with her. You're going to figure out how to get there. You're armed. She probably isn't. And you're going to just take matters into your own hand. She's on that side of the house. She's over here. She's in the kitchen. You have a plan. Honey, if something was to happen when you're in the kitchen and I'm on the couch, you're going to go into this back room. And I am going to follow you there. That is the new Alamo. That is Alamo 2. Our bedroom is Alamo number 1. That's Alamo number 2. And she understands. Oh my God, somebody's coming through. You can even remind her. Get in Alamo 2. Get in the far bedroom. Whatever you want to do. You can bark commands at her, kind of, oh, that's right. That's the plan we're using. And she goes, and you're over the couch, and you're getting there, hopefully without having to take care of any issues along the way. We don't want to have to shoot people. If the situation arises, God forbid, and you felt endangered, or you felt your wife was going to get nabbed up and there was going to be a bad thing going down, then you know what? At least you're armed and you can take care of it. Staging. And of course, back to my story, once I kind of explained it in their house, because their house was kind of an unusual floor plan, he immediately got it. He understood, like I said, right as the scenario ended. He's just like, okay, I get it. Their solution was they were going to figure out how to stage a weapon nearby. If it's a rifle, of course, it's a little more difficult, takes a little bit more thought. But here's another thing to think about when you start coming down to staging. I'm going to see if I can go back here. When it comes to staging a weapon, there's a lot of personal responsibility that goes along with it, because you're basically talking about an unsecured weapon, and which means anybody has access to it. So if you have grandkids over, or if you have neighbors over, anyone in your space that is not part of your family unit, you have to remember, and this isn't optional, you have to remember, I have to get this weapon up out of view, away from any meddling hands that might be wanting to touch it or might want to screw with it, because you don't, for obvious reasons, want somebody to think, oh, well, look at the weapons in here. I need to secure it, and messing with it or just getting curious. You don't want that. So you have to remember, look, we have the grandkids coming over this afternoon. Where I normally stage my weapon is not going to work. I'm going to either carry it on my person, which is a doable thing, or I'm going to put it someplace up high where they cannot access it, or maybe for a couple hours you do just put it somewhere in the back in a safe, out of sight, out of mind. And then the minute they leave, you put everything back the way it was. But it's a lot of responsibility. It's not like something you can forget, like locking the back door. It is something you have to just pound in constantly to remember, because it's not something you want to play around with. It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. But it doesn't make it unfeasible. It doesn't make it something that you can't do. It just comes with a load of responsibility, and you have to be willing to accept that responsibility. If you can't accept the responsibility, then obviously don't do it. Don't do it. Put it where you normally have it, lock it up, whatever. Keep it someplace other than where people can get to it. But if you're going to, my opinion, it is super important to have a weapon nearby all the time. All the time. Even at home. So there's my rant. Todd, I didn't get anything out of that. It's hard. When I'm out at your house and we're walking through it, and you're having success and failure, and you're going to not do every scenario perfect. You're going to get frustrated. Everybody does. But you learn from it. And without that experience, it's really tough for me to sit here and lecture you about this stuff. I mean, it might make sense to you. It might not. But the way to really practice this, and we actually put the practice weapon in a spot where he thought was feasible, and he could change it later, but he found a spot, and we staged it there night and day for obvious reasons. It was So simple for him to say, hey, okay, I got my weapon, you know, and come up with a plan with his wife. And they implemented it awesome. And they had a successful outcome. They were both, everybody was in agreement. They were all alive, which is really what you're focused on here, is just surviving something horrific like this. And so it was success. It was a success, and he, you know, again, he just understood, and because it's just when you're there and you're practicing it in your home, it's just so obvious, especially when you run a scenario with it the way it is now, and you the way you're not having a weapon stage. It's just like, I get it. You just get it. And then as far as how to figure out how to stage it, or how to come up with a plan when people come over or the grandkids are over or whatever, you come up with that plan and you follow it religiously. But it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means you have to be prepared to do it. The alternative is horrible. It's bad. So there's my spiel. I hope you decide to give us a jingle. If you call, please have mercy on me. If you get my voicemail, please just leave a voice mail. And if you get my voicemail, leave a voicemail. I will return your call. Better yet, text the number. Hey, Todd, I got a question about home defense shakedown. And, you know, this is it. And I'll get back to you really quick that way, too, because a lot of times I can multitask and return a text and return an email at the same time, kind of thing. And it's just easier on me. We're a small company. We're in the process of growing, and it would really help me if you were just a little patient. I will get back to you, though. So until the next video, or until we see each other in your home, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.